let's go, Danny, to a conversation about the National Cathedral. I have heard the Minister for Finance in a conversation talking about spirituality and religiosity and widow's mite and all of that. Well, you do know that, Danny, play the video first. Well, Jesus had 12 disciples, didn't he? Jesus had 12 disciples, didn't he? Okay. All the 12 disciples were employed, right? Now, this is the National Cathedral. Maybe you didn't know your board of trustees for the National Cathedral, which has become a conversation. And yesterday, somebody was asking me, is it really a National Cathedral or is it an Akufo-Addo Cathedral? Because it was President Akufo-Addo who made a promise to his maker that if you give me this presidency, I will build for you a cathedral. Now we are getting twist of it being a tourist attraction, all of those conversations. The simple question I ask is, the Cape Coast Castle, the Elmina Castle, the Fort Prince-Inside, all of those ones that were delivered to us by the colonial masters, how well have we managed them? And don't you think that if we are managing them right, all the conversations about tourism that we're having now about the National Cathedral, which has suddenly been thrown in because the initial pledge was that it was not going to be tourism. It was somebody's personal pledge to God. Deliver and I will deliver. God has delivered 2 times. And now we are being asked to pay for it. And you know what? We'll come back to that conversation. First is Apostle Professor Poko Nyina, chairman of the Church of Pentecost, not anymore, by the way. Archbishop Charles Palmer Bako, Metropolitan Catholic Archbishop of Cape Coast, is the vice chairman. Most Reverend Dr. Akrofi, Justice Ofori Akrofi, is the Anglican Archbishop Emeritus, a member. Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, former moderator of the Presbyterian Church, is a member. Most Reverend T.K. Awotwe Pratt, presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, is a member. Reverend Professor Cephas Omenyon, moderator of the Presbyterian Church, is a member. Pastor Mensa Otabil, General Overseer of the International Central Gospel Church, is a member. And I'm told that Pastor Otabil may have resigned. I don't have any evidence to prove it. I didn't see an appointment letter. I have not seen a resignation letter. The church has not given an official position on it. So I will go on and assume that, well, Pastor Mensa Otabil is still on it. Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, presiding Archbishop and General Overseer of Action Chapel International, is a member. Reverend Dr. Joyce Aye, Executive Director, Salt and Light Ministries, is a member. Bishop Doug Hayward Mills, presiding Bishop Lighthouse Group of Churches, a member. Reverend Eastwood Anaba, founder and president of Eastwood Anaba Ministries, member. Reverend Victor Kusi Boating, founder of the Power Chapel Worldwide, he is also a member, or even like the member and a secretary to the team. Then he come back to the studio. You see all these great men of God and women of God that we have here. If you go to their churches, right from the top all the way down. In fact, the Church of Pentecost recently built a prison complex and dashed it to the nation, right? Now, Bishop Doug has a very beautiful edifice on top of the mountain, plus all the other big churches. Name them, all of them. If they were looking, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, if they want to build something, they know how to raise funds. They know where to raise the funds with. They know how to commandeer the funds to appear. And you and I know, I'm a Christian, I know. They know how to commandeer the funds. They know who to call, which knob to press for the monies to come. And I'm happy that they are the same people who have taught us over and over again that there are 2 cardinal points in Christianity. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. If we are supposed to love God, which is why we want to build a cathedral to worship in it, that's fine. But are we loving our neighbors? Our neighbors, the people who are hungry, the children who are being fed with 97 pesos, the NAPCO beneficiaries who have not been paid, the national service people who have not been paid, the teachers who have not been posted, the nurses who have not been posted, all of those people who are owed monies, the contractors who have not been paid, which is why people who depend on them for what they call direct and indirect jobs, who are staying at home, can't feed their families, can't take them to school, all of those conversations, are we proving and showing them love? When Jesus spoke to Peter, he says, Peter, do you love me? He said, yes. He says, feed my sheep. Take care of my sheep. The sheep that Jesus gave to us are the people of Ghana who are complaining endlessly, time and time again. And I don't believe that any of the churches, all the churches here, have their own cathedrals. The Anglican Church has a cathedral. The Pentecost Church has a cathedral. The Methodist Church has cathedrals. In fact, all of them here. And this is not an attack. I'm saying that in this country, when a matter comes up and the spirituality and religiosity comes in, common sense flees, confusion sets in, everything becomes bizarre, haywire. What are our priorities? The president said the National Cathedral is his priority or priorities. Now we have been told that there's a spiritual and religious twist to it. Danny, maybe the finance minister has forgotten. On the 11th of January 2017, President Akufo-Addo had occasion to announce to us Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta as our Minister for Finance. Put it there, dear Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta for me. Danny, play the video. Dear Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta.
Important for us to put resources into it. Now the question is how we do that, and I outlined, the strategy that the trustees have come up with regards to mass mobilization.
The next person is arguably one of the most successful bankers in our country, an American educated, Columbia, Yale, the rest, worked in Wall Street as a young man for Morgan Stanley and for Salomon Brothers. And when he returned here to Ghana in the late 80s, early 90s, combined with his partners to found what has become the most successful investment bank in our country, that is Data Bank. It's grown to have affiliates across the continent. So we have somebody who's been deeply involved in the economies, not just of Ghana, but of several countries on the continent, and has been successful in promoting investment and development in those economies. His reputation in international capital, money markets, very high. We want to get the Ghanaian economy fully back on track and developing so that we can create jobs and lift and raise the living standards of our people. We need an economist. We need somebody at finance who has the range, who has the capacity, and has the insight into how to move modern economies. I believe that most people who are dealing in the money market, the capital markets of our country, would acknowledge him as one of the outstanding figures in it. He, for the last 3 years, has done something I suspect many members of his family thought was a madness. He stepped down from his leadership of the Data Bank to follow me and give me his full support, and became chairman of the person of the...
Good morning, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. This was the president's resolve in you. He said you have the capacity, you have the reach, and you have the insight. When he spoke about a revival, he wasn't talking about church revival. Respectfully, he was talking about revival of the Ghanaian economy, which you, before 2016 and in 2016, had gone around to share flyers to people and had told people that the economy was in tatters, in fact, and that you were coming to revive it. That was why the president put you there. This was your KPI. Your KPI did not include going around to tell people about a cathedral. And he said you are going to work under the direction of Vice President Baumia. Today, the Vice President seldom talks about the economy. You, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, manager of the National Pest, doesn't talk about the economy. But that is your key job. How do you leave your key job and be talking about other things that doesn't really concern you? How? How do you quote Bible verses, wear white, and still go about breaching the processes? Because we know you have spent monies without the tacit approval of Parliament. That is wrong. That is criminal. That is not right. Because you brought us the fiscal discipline, the act, whatever it is, which was suspended at some point because we're told of COVID. So we got indication that there's going to be a lot of discipline. What has happened in terms of that spend is not disciplined. And what you told us about the National Cathedral, that it was not going to be state-funded, is turning out not to be right. So I'm asking, can we build the house of truth, which is God's house, on a foundation of lies? I'm only asking my questions. And those who don't like the questions, who say it is disrespectful, that's fine. That's your opinion. That's the beauty of democracy. But I'm saying, Mr. Kenofrata, don't lose sight of the fact that your key job was also to maintain our currency in a certain place. Today, the dollar has broken the A. The pound has broken the A. The euro has broken the A. That is your job. The president said you are going to help us to industrialize. Where are the industries? And what has been the impact of the industries in the lives of the people? Benchmark values. You said that at some point you were going to cancel them so that local industries can. Which of your local industries is able to fully provide what you are going to take away from the benchmark values? Sugar. Where's your sugar factory? We import every single grain and cube of sugar into this country. Yet you're supposed to have a sugar factory that we're told will start working by April. We're in June. That is your job. Your job is to make payments and to make the money available and to look for money. And the president said that you stepped down from data bank and your family thought that it was the craziest thing to do 3 years on before you got into power. Well, now if we go back and look, the claims that have been made against you continually, which silence is loud enough. Data bank is loud about it. You are loud about it. Is the fact that each time we go for a loan or a bond, whatever it is, you as transaction advisors, data bank, or the bank that you are affiliated to, gets a percentage of it. So the allegation is that you are happy when we borrow because you make money from it. But that's your job. Your job is to make sure that the people are comfortable. If you knew, Mr. Kenofrata, and President Akufo-Addo, if you knew that it was the cathedral that was going to solve all our problems right from scratch, why didn't you invest all the monies we have borrowed, which is now breaking our neck, which is why we have had to saddle the people with e-levy? Why didn't you start building the cathedral from scratch? And by now, because whatever monies you are asking us to sink into the cathedral project, and I'm not against the building of a cathedral, I'm just against the principle that we said we won't use this, and we are using that. We have not come back to reconcile it, but we are moving ahead as if nothing has happened. And I'm saying that if you knew that the cathedral was going to solve our problem right from scratch, why didn't you start building the cathedral after you got sworn in 2017 or the 7th of January? Why? Why have we had to go through all these other processes before now you're telling us that we have to build a cathedral? First, it was a monument, and that it was going to ensure that the grace of God was upon us, and that we were going to use it as a thanksgiving for President Akufo-Addo's pledge to God. There's the Holy Trinity Cathedral. There's the Wesley Methodist Cathedral, both in Accra. There's the St. Cyprian's Cathedral. There's the Holy Spirit Cathedral. And I'm saying all the people here, they have their own cathedrals. I am not against them. I'm saying that what is our real priority? Where children lie on their belly in this country to learn in school, and we are building a house for God. God said, even Jesus, the Master Jesus, when he got his disciples and he was roaming around with them, preaching the gospel and going to places, when he realized that the people were hungry, he paused and he fed them. Your people are hungry. We have sunk money into planting for food and jobs. Food is so expensive. Mr. Foriata, as member of the economic management team, together with our great minister, and it was important that on the 11th of January 2017, when you were being announced, before you were announced, the president announced the national security minister. The president announced the trade and industry minister. And then he announced you. Strategic. National security is important. Trade is important, but finance is essential. Look at our economy now. It's in tatters. Look at our inflation. We've gone to 27.3. 27. The highest in how many years? That's your job. If I'm an importer this morning and you are telling me about the National Cathedral, I would not be happy about it, because when I import stuff into this country, what I pay at the port is neck-breaking. What I pay at the port is not breaking. If I want to do business in foreign currency, my city is so weak, it can't do anything. That's your job. Your job is not suddenly to become an evangelist, wear white, go around TV and radio stations and be preaching. And because when you started quoting the Bible, even in the House of Parliament, we said nothing. And as I said, as Ghanaians, we pretend too much. We know what is right. If any of our pastors and any of the people supporting were hungry, you think that they would support it? Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? Because Peter had eaten at the time. That was after the Last Supper. He said, feed my flock. After you have eaten, make sure the downtrodden have also eaten. And we are not just feeding them with the word of God. We must feed the people with food. We must feed the people with water. We must give the people shelter. We must give them clothing. Let us get our priorities right, oh. Because as for the cathedral, we can build it. Cathedral, 11, that's fine. But it is only people who are alive and living who can worship in the cathedral. When you die, they will sing for you a dirge and you'll be buried. I want to prick your conscience this morning and redirect you to your KPI, Mr. Ofori. The president had a lot of confidence in you, and that was why when you were not even well and outside the jurisdiction, he kept the position for you and made Mr. Osei Mesambosu read the budget on your behalf until you got in and were vetted. And I don't remember at your vetting table when you were being vetted at any point in time telling us about a national cathedral and telling us that your priorities were to restore the economy. Your priority was to restore the economy. If the economy is sinking, that should be your first focus. It's akin to a child in an exam hall who has not finished solving his own exam questions, but is whispering answers to people to solve their problems. Focus. Do FIASM, like IGP said, solve your problems. Your job is the economy. And I would remind you tomorrow, Mr. Ofori, when you came here on that fateful morning, it was hot. You came on the back of a motorbike in your white dress. And you came to talk about how you were going to help the government to transform the economy if you got the nod. Now you have the nod. You are in power. This is the second year of your second term. And you're going around talking about cathedral. Boss, focus on your job. Focus on your job. Good morning.